awesome.
Just starting out, like, what are some of the things you guys are evaluating this week? What are you trying to learn about some of these guys?
Well, some of it is just athletic skill set. Some of it is how well they can learn and retain information, how quickly they can process information on the field, and where they're at from a fundamental and technique standpoint.
Dennis, were you out here in the afternoon? Was that to try to get them acclimated to the heat, or it just worked out that way? Like, was there a plan to go in the hottest part?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. It just, getting an opportunity to get outside and practice. We kind of changed it up a little bit. We did our walkthrough in the morning and had an afternoon practice. I wanted to get outside, certainly not too hot. And you get a chance to see what kind of condition these guys are in.
Is it too early to see you? No, I was going to say really small sample size so far, but Chris Olave, what have you seen so far?
Yeah, I mean, you said it, small sample size, but just same things that we saw on tape. A guy that is really fast, smooth in transition, good route runner, and look, ultimately, he's the type of character person that we wanted to bring into the building, and I think that's as important as anything.
Dennis, do you have a plan yet for what side Trevor Penning will play, left or right, or is that still up in the air?
No, he's starting off over on the left-hand side, and then obviously we're going to evaluate things as we go along.
Do you feel better about maybe the idea of leaving Ryan where he is if you can play him on the left?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've gotten a lot of work with Ram on the right-hand side, so being able to plug and play, and look, we've got James Hurst too, so I mean, we feel pretty good about where we're at offensive line-wise.
Can you talk about Jarvis Landry and what he would mean to you?
Yeah, look, he's obviously been a really good player in our league. He's a guy that we feel like can move the chains, and feel like he's a guy from a character standpoint, from a leadership standpoint that I think we can use.
We haven't gotten to talk to you. Yeah, the same question. We haven't gotten a chance to talk to you since Tyrann Mathieu signed. Just how big is that? Just not necessarily what he can do on the field, right, but what he can do for the community and coming home.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think that's obviously a bonus, and I think that's really important to Tyrann to be able to make an impact in the community. But certainly, he's here because he's a really good football player. He's a playmaker. We feel like he's still got a lot of good football left in him, and we feel like he's got some of the leadership qualities that maybe we lose out on when we lose a guy like Malcolm Jenkins. So I think that was important to be able to get a guy like that.
What does it do for the defense when you have two safeties that can do a lot of different things and play in a lot of different spots?
Yeah, it just allows us to be a little bit more multiple. I think it allows us to hold our disguises a little bit better. And so I think that's really what it is. I like the versatility of having guys that can play both in the front and in the back end.
How do you feel about having Gardner Johnson and Tyrann Mathieu out there at the same time?
Well, I feel good about it. Yeah, I mean, look, they're both good players, and I feel like both those guys can help us win.
Dennis, what have you seen from Trey Regis? He's a running back from UL Lafayette. He's a local kid trying to make it. What have you seen from Trey?
Yeah, I think he's got good vision as a runner. You see some speed there. I like what I've seen in the camp. He seems to have picked up the scheme pretty well. So I like some of the things I've seen.
How important was it to add to the wide receiver room? Obviously, you had 2 big names in the first round pick, and now just 2 Jarvis. But how important was it just to add to that room?
Yeah, look, I don't think you really necessarily set out and say, well, we have to do this in this room, or we have to do this. I think you kind of identify some areas that you need some help, and then you have to see what's available out there. And fortunately for us, we felt like wide receiver was a position that we could look to add to, and fortunately for us, we had some means of doing that both through the draft and free agency.
What about the tight end positions? We haven't received much from that side of the field. Is that one of the reasons? Crew?
Yeah, look, I like where we're at from a tight end perspective. And Lucas Kroll was a guy that we thought coming out of Pittsburgh that was a talented player that had some ability that we thought maybe if he came in here and developed, that he might be a guy that could come in and potentially do something for us.
Yes, I know you've been a head coach before, but has there been like a transition period for you as far as just getting adjusted to your new role again back in 2013?
Yeah, I went to the wrong office a couple times for the first few weeks, but other than that, yeah. Look, I mean, there's certainly a transition, but obviously it's much smoother in the fact that I've been here 12 years now, and so 7 coming back. So the transition has actually been fairly smooth. But just like anything, you know, when you're taking on new responsibility, there's some transition that goes with that.
Coach, when you sign veteran players like that who have had success, is part of what you're trying to sell in is that we can win now, our roster's good enough, we can contend? Is that part of the conversation?
Well, certainly that's always been our mindset here. You know, our mindset has been to win and to win now. And certainly we feel like we've got a roster that we're capable of winning. And we're going to look to do anything we can to help improve that roster to give us the best chance to do that.
Dennis, what did you like about Abram Smith, running back out of Baylor, that you signed him as a free agent?
Yeah, tough, smart, competitive, really good special teams value. And I think, you know, anytime you're looking at an undrafted free agent, the first thing you're looking at is, okay, number one, how does he make the team? And then number two, does he have the ability to be active on game day? And for a young player, the best way that you have a chance to be active on game day is to contribute on special teams. And so that was an area that we felt like he was really good at.
Was he a guy maybe you were a little surprised that was still there after the draft?
Yeah, because he was a guy that late in the draft we were considering, and I wasn't sure that he was going to be there in free agency, but luckily for us he was, and we feel like that's a pretty good pickup and a good try for us.
Any first impressions of number 12 that you saw today?
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, as I said earlier, he's what we thought he would be. Really smooth route runner, good in transition. He's smart, and he's the right type of character guy that we want to bring into our building.
Have you heard from any LSU fans you might know about Matthew and Landry back-to-back like you did?
Well, yeah, my whole neighborhood, I think, is sent me a text in some form or fashion. So, look, it's one of those things that's not the big contributing factor as to why we bring these players in. We feel like these players can help us win and help us grow our locker room, and that's really what it boils down to. And so, you know, we had an opportunity there with both those players, and felt like they could help us win, and had some good leadership value for our team. Is that it? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Dennis.
Thank you.